Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to Susan Wallace. Susan is an internationally recognized hypnotherapist, known as the teaching therapist. She is founder of the Hypnotherapy Business Academy, where she trains hundreds of therapists, coaches, and other entrepreneurs on hypnotherapy, mind coaching, and online therapy. And one of her many areas of expertise is on how to use the power of the mind to attract clients. And she's going to get to share some of those insights with us today. And she's even very kind to offer to do an experience with all of us today. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here.
Thank you, Verd. I'm delighted to be here. It's an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, I know that you are really an expert in this arena, and there are so many people that really wish to attract things into their life, to get clients, to have certain things in their life, but there's some resistance, some things hold them back. So would you be willing to share with us what are some of those areas of resistance or maybe limiting mindsets that could potentially hold people back from attracting the types of clients that they want to have?
Sure. And, it is such a big thing. It's such a huge thing because I think for so many of us who are entrepreneurs, and it doesn't really matter whether we are selling products or whether we are selling services, the ability to attract clients and then to actually have that conversation, that dialogue with clients that turns them from being a lead into an inquiry into an actual sale is one of the things that's intrigued me for so many years. So much so that I went out and I actually got a master's in digital marketing in the hope that there would be something on that course that would just kind of give me that eureka moment. But it didn't. And I mean, the strategies are great around lead generation and everything like that. But the more that I dug down into it, I began to realize that in many ways, so many of us have, it's kind of a cross between the imposter syndrome and that invisible ceiling. And very often we have this idea that we only can get so far and that we're not entitled to or deserving of anything above and beyond that. So where does that actually come from? I think a lot of it comes from our expectations and how we were raised as children and the beliefs that were created and laid down at a very early age. And look, even if that is the case, the fact is that was then and this is now. So we have to really look at what is it that we need to be able to do? What's that mindset shift that we need to make so that we can really attract clients and welcome them into our business with open arms and make them feel so very special? And I think really that brings us into marketing psychology. And what I have designed and developed is this whole process that changes or shifts the focus away from you as the entrepreneur and you looking to attract clients into shifting the focus. So it's specifically on your clients, because when we step out of ourselves and we focus fully on meeting the needs and helping our clients to achieve what they want, we tend to put our own ego states to one side and we stop thinking about ourselves. And that seems to be the thing that makes a huge difference. Now, without a doubt, there can be stuff that's lying dormant in our subconscious mind for decades. And if we are holding on to the beliefs that we're not good enough or that we're not deserving of stuff, well, hypnotherapy can be extremely effective for that. And sometimes it can be very beneficial to go back and reflect on where did we develop the beliefs that we weren't entitled to wealth and success and rewards in business, and maybe look at the stories that we inherited maybe from our parents. So I am growing up in Ireland when I was growing up, it was common for everyone to be feeling the pinch economically. There just was not sufficient money to go around. So we were taught to be extremely careful with money and not to be putting ourselves out there, not to be stepping in above our station, for example. And I remember for so many years in business, I couldn't understand where my money beliefs came from. Well, I could understand it, but I didn't know how to break through it. I just knew that I grew up with a poverty-based mindset. And I kind of assumed and accepted that that's just the way it was. And then one day I challenged myself to actually go back and remember a time when there was abundance in my life, in my early upbringing. And the strangest thing happened. I specifically remembered a time that I was going on a journey from Ireland across to the UK to one of my auntie's weddings, and being given a very small amount of money to put into a slot machine. And as luck would have it, I put the coin in and I pulled the handle, and all of this money tumbled out, so much so that I had to scoop it into my skirt and carry it, running and crying to my mother to say, look what has happened to me. Look at what I've got. And it turned out that it was quite a considerable amount of money for a 9-year-old girl to actually get. And of course, I was forced to save it, as was the good thing to do. But just simply going back and looking to pick out a specific memory that was contrary to the narrative, that belief that was sitting inside my brain for such a long time, allowed me to actually feel that I was deserving of abundance. And not just deserving of it, but that abundance was naturally mine, because I was able to show myself that I had proof that that was the case. So with that information, then it's quite easy to go and do a self-hypnosis session to access those feelings. And instead of remembering what abundance felt like, to actually relive it within my nervous system, to feel it in my heart, to hear it in my voice, and to reclaim ownership of that experience. So how do we, I suppose, make sure that as entrepreneurs that we really can tap into the power of the mind? Well, it is to look back and to go seeking the evidence to find the proof that's contrary to the belief that we're holding on to. So that would be my number one piece of advice for anyone who is looking to hack into their mindset and to change their nervous system when it comes to attracting whatever it is that they want into their lives.
Thank you, Susan. And what if someone doesn't know what those limiting mindsets might be that are maybe lying dormant there?
I think that we do know what they are. We may not really have put them verbally, but if we don't, it very often, so there's two ways that they will show up. First of all, they'll show up in the language that we use. Very often, they will be the words that follow statements like I can't, or I'm not able to, or these things don't happen to me. So the words that we use where we're pushing away the opportunity maybe to engage more with our clients tend to provide the breadcrumb trail that will lead back to the memories that we're actually looking for. But if you're just feeling that you're stuck, the thing to do is to connect with that feeling of stuckness. It is to simply breathe in and to follow your breath into your body and go seek out that place where that stuckness resides. And if you do this in a place that's quiet, where it's free from distractions, and you use your language, whatever those words are, I'm feeling stuck, I'm no good at this, and you keep repeating those words, you follow your breath in to that place where you kind of feel that energy or that stuckness, and then simply ask the question, if that part of my body could speak, what would it say? and to simply allow the answer to come. Because that way, instead of putting it out there and just having that wall to say, look, I'm stuck, I can't. Instead, we open up, we go inside, and we connect with ourselves, and we allow it to speak. And then once we know what that is, then we can then go and look and follow the memories and the experiences back to try and find something that is contrary to that. So you'll go back and you'll find tons of examples of when you were stuck, of when things weren't going well. But that's not the purpose of the exercise. The purpose is to go back and to find the examples of the complete opposite of that. Because that's what you need to hold on to. That's what you need to claim ownership. And that's what you need to bring back up into the light. And by bringing it up and reconnecting with those experiences as they affect your body, there you can use them to lift you up and to help you to make that connection that you want with your clients.
I think this is such wise advice, and I know that it works. So my question is now, what about if people can't consciously access those more positive memories, those empowering memories? What can they do?
You need to go and see the expert. And that's just being dead straightforward. You know, we can go onto YouTube and we can go and listen to good advice and we can do all sorts of stuff like that. But when we're really experiencing a blockage, when there's the recognition that there's something that's holding us back, very often there is a program that's probably lying in our subconscious mind. Think of it like a virus. If you have a computer, and there's a piece of malware installed, you need to have that removed so that your computer can operate efficiently. Similarly, if you're finding that you're not able to make that connection that you want, that you're not able to attract the clients that you want, and you don't know what it is, the best thing to do is to go and see a professional hypnotherapist that will be able to take you through a process. And because they're the guide, they will be able to help you to recognize where you are stuck and then to be able to reprogram your mind, to remove that virus, that piece of malware, and to basically update those subroutines that are holding you back. And Farid, I'm not trying to sell anything here, but that is the fact that if your car is broken, if it's not performing the way it should, you bring your car to a garage and a car mechanic will fix it for you. And likewise, if there really is something that's holding you back and you know that it's subconscious, or even if you have the awareness of it and you're not able to shift it yourself, then it does make sense to go and see a professional hypnotherapist.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, my mind was going also to the power of imagination. So if I have not had, let's say, or cannot recall consciously a memory of a time where I felt, let's say, empowered, what if I also imagine that? Like I say, how will I know if that happened? And I imagine that vividly. What will be the impact of that?
The impact of that is so very powerful. There's a theory called Hebb's theory that goes that the neurons in our brain that fire together, they wire together and they form very strong connections. Now, this is a double-edged sword because it can either work in our favor or it can work against us. So if we are constantly reminding ourselves that we're not very good at this or we're not very good at that, we are constantly wiring our brain and strengthening those connections. But like you said, if we use our imagination to build in our brains a concept or an idea of what we would be like if we were showing up as our best selves, if we were showing up with the skills to be able to attract the kind of clients that we want, to attract the customers that we want, to be able to have that heartfelt conversation with them, and to be able to help them to make the commitment to themselves to overcome their challenge. by working with us or by buying our product. If we can in our mind go in and create that, use our imagination to create what that might look like, well, then what we can do is, it's very simply, you can claim ownership of it. And why wouldn't you? These are your thoughts. This is your imagination. Why were we given an imagination if we weren't supposed to use it? We are so lucky that as humans that we don't have to go through an experience in order to benefit from it. We can use our imagination in order to capture that. And it's really down to claiming ownership of that version of yourself. And here's the thing, the hypnosis, the creative imagination experience that I'd love to take your listeners through and your viewers through this evening is going to use the best of marketing psychology and client attraction. And we're going to wrap it up in a metaphor. Now, metaphors are the one thing that really, really connect with us on a deep subconscious level. From when we were tiny little children, we were told stories and fables and tales in order for us to learn really important life lessons. And it's the same in business. The metaphor that we will use is so powerful that it will give you the skills to be able to discover exactly who your target audience is, to be able to really empathize and spend some time in their shoes so that you get that visceral experience of what it's like for them and what it is that's driving them towards finding the solution that they need. And with that knowledge, you're then able to take those pain points that they have, those heartfelt longings, and use them as a way to be able to have that conversation with them that explains to them really clearly that you are the right person for them, that you have the solution, and whatever it is that you offer, your product and service is the way for them to achieve their goals. So it's good fun, first of all. Secondly, it's science-based because we are using the psychology of attraction in order to do it. And thirdly, it's very creative because there's two ways that you can listen to it. First of all, I would advise just to actually sit with it and listen to it as the story it is. But then second time to go back and listen to it again. But on the second time of listening it, grab a sheet of paper, grab a pen and literally sketch out the journey.
I'm so excited for our listeners and viewers to experience that which you will be offering to us. And, I love that you're, really addressing the power of imagination here, and guiding us through a process to be able to connect with that and to imagine that. And that you've already given us some tools of what to do if when we imagine that or focus on it, we notice some resistance in the body, or we notice some thoughts, right? I can't, right? All of those, if that shows up, and then to give ourselves evidence that that is not true in the form of past experiences or focusing more on ideal future experiences. I think it was Einstein that said, something like, imagination is even more important than knowledge. And I think to your point and kind of around the master's degree that you mentioned, knowledge is important. Of course, we need the strategies, but if there's some unconscious or sometimes conscious resistance that's blocking that from, coming into our physical reality, so to speak, then we need to look at that. We need to look under the hood and if need be, help, go to a mechanic, so to speak, to a therapist or someone to help us to look under the hood and to release that which is ready to be released.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and that's great going to see a hypnotherapist, but the truth is the power lies within, and we've got to ask ourselves, who is it that's actually in control of your thinking when it comes to actually attracting clients, when it comes to actually bringing those clients over the line? And I'm sure your viewers and your listeners, like you and like I, have taken so many different trainings. They've been on so many courses. But at the end of the day, if you're not actually claiming ownership of what is rightfully yours, of what you are entitled to, which is success, which is freedom, and the rewards of all of the efforts and the work that you have done, well, then it does fall to you and you alone, because we have to be the masters of our own fate. If we were not supposed to be the masters of our own fate, we would not have been given imagination. Einstein would have not used his imagination to imagine what it would be like to be straddled over a light beam, shooting off into space. So, we just have to accept ownership of the fact that we can use our imagination to go and create the kind of version of ourselves that we want to be, and step into it, and to step into our power. And we already have those skills. And I think sometimes it's just a case, we just have to own them, just own them. And the one thing that maybe stops us from really claiming ownership of them is that maybe we feel, and we're back to what I said earlier, that maybe we feel that we're somehow an imposter because we're focused on the selling rather than on the giving, rather than on the understanding. And again, I'm back to the visualization that we're going to do. When you go through this process and when you step into your customer's shoes and you experience where they're at, it really does help to blast through that imposter's syndrome, because you're no longer selling. What you're doing is you're really helping your client to make a commitment to them, not to you. And it's that thing about making a commitment. You're not looking to close the deal. You're looking to help your client to go and make that commitment. And think about it. How do your clients even find you in the first place? It's so simple. They're going on Google or they're going on some other search engine, and they are physically typing in keywords that are a match for what you offer. So you already have a good sense of connection there. So it really is about helping them to achieve what it is that they want and making that commitment. But I'll go on about that in a very gentle way, and a scientific way and a creative way when we do the actual experience.
Thank you, Susan. And I'm curious, if before we get to that, would you be willing to share a little bit around, I know before we started to record, you brought up this kind of concept of a lot of entrepreneurs feeling the need to over-deliver at the beginning before a client kind of signs on to become a client. Yeah. And so can you tell us, because I do see that often, I see that as from people sharing that in many different contexts, whether it's in a sales context of needing to over deliver or over caring about something to the point where it hurts us. Yes, because we want so much to help that it actually gets to a point where it harms us in some way or creates in us some depleting emotions. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
I will, of course. And it comes down to I call it the 3 S's. Okay. So there are 3 S's that we have to be so very mindful of when it comes to sales, when it comes to making the offer. And so our clients, they come to us because they're experiencing something that we would call a symptom. Okay. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, whether you are selling cars, whether you're selling insurance, whether you are offering courses, it doesn't matter. Your clients are coming to you with a symptom. There's something that they very much want to solve. Okay. And so when we have that symptom, when the clients present that symptom to us, we can sometimes become very understanding of it, very compassionate of where they are at. But really what we want to be doing is helping them to understand exactly where does that symptom come from. So that brings us to the second S, and that is the source. What is the source of that problem? Because once we understand what the source is, we're then able to explain how our product is a good, or our service is a good match for what lies beneath it, which is the solution. So you have the symptom up here, you have the source where it came from, and then beneath that we have the solution. So what I see a lot of entrepreneurs do across all different industries is that when they understand what the client's symptom is, they feel the real need to jump in there with some kind of a solution. And if you jump in too soon with the solution, especially in the service industry, your clients will then go and kind of road test it to see what it's like. And because all you've been doing is kind of helping them to feel better, very often they might dismiss and stop, and that might stop them from buying the actual product. Okay, so let me see if I can explain it better. So the way that a good way to explain it would be, we can view all of our clients experience some kind of pain, some kind of psychological pain. Even if your car is broken down and you need a new car, that is a pain. It is a psychological pain on so many different levels. So we just look at it as a pain. So we have two different types of pain. You have the kind of pain that just requires a Band-Aid to be put over it, okay? And that can be sufficient. But sometimes, in a lot of cases, the problem is deeper, and it requires that we actually kind of remove the thorn that is in there. So if you are selling something to me and you come along and you're like, there, Susan, so what we can do is we can give you a free trial for 7 days. You can try it out and you can see how you get on. And I might be, oh, thank you so much. That's amazing. I would love to do that. Okay. But in doing that, you seem to be providing me with a solution, but are you really providing me with a solution? Because the chances are my life is going to be so busy, or I'm going to go in there and very quickly take a look at what's on offer, get distracted by everything else that's going on in my life, and then realize, well, my 7 days are up, and not actually go and invest in the full in the full service. So we have to be very careful that we don't over deliver, that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot by telling our clients that, look, I'm going to give you this so you can try it out, see how you get on with it. Because if they're not primed and ready and they haven't fully committed to themselves and to success, there is a chance that they try our product for a few days and then actually decide not to go through with it. So the symptoms are what they bring. We need to recognize that there is a source, but our true value and what we get paid for as entrepreneurs is actually dealing with that bottom level underneath it. So we have to make sure that we are giving them the solution, and that's our paid, that's the stuff that is the skill or the service or the product that we give them in exchange for money.
Thank you for articulating that. And so what advice do you have, or more advice do you have around how to do that? What to do perhaps in that initial conversation so that we give some value and help those people to own the real source of the problem and to be open to committing to a solution that will make sure to resolve the problem and prevent similar problems moving forward? What can we do?
Fabulous question. So what we have to be so careful to do is to not offer the solution in the form of a free gift or a free trial. Or the thing in my industry that drives me crazy is the free consultation, the free hypnotherapy session that starts up here but doesn't get right down in deep. What we really need to be doing is to be, and this becomes really clear in the exercise that we're going to do, the attraction psychology exercise. It'll become crystal clear. But what we need to be doing is to guide our clients through our questions and bring into focus for them what it is that they really want. And to build that level of commitment that they are going to be fearless and focused on actually achieving whatever that is. So we don't want to start addressing their pain points as such. We can address them, but not solve them. Sorry, we do address them, but we don't solve them. What we do is we connect our product or service to the solving of those pain points and help them to realize that when they invest in our service or when they have our product, that the benefits of that will be the reduction or the elimination of those symptoms that they are experiencing. And until we can actually help them to envisage that and to see that by purchasing what we have to offer takes them to where they want to go and gives them the benefits, there will always be that disconnect. And again, by doing that, that helps us to step outside of our own way, because now we're not focused on us and whether we're good enough and whether our sales techniques are good enough. It's because we've recognized the symptoms that our clients are presenting. We are taking the time to get them or ask them to explain how their life will improve when those pain points, those symptoms are gone. And then we're helping them to realize that when they have our product or service, that it creates those benefits. And kind of in between those two things is where we work to help them to realize that they're making a commitment, not to us, but to themselves, to finally do what needs to be done so that they can get the results that they want. And so it's that little piece of commitment there. And this is really important for anyone who works in the service industry that's selling services. It's by making that commitment, by really investing, that's how you eliminate those pain points, and that's how you get those benefits. And the other thing is you're helping them to make the commitment to invest in someone who cares enough about them, who takes the time to know and understand them, who has developed that level of empathy, that knows where they are right now. And so you are the person who is the perfect fit to deliver those services to those clients.
Thank you. And it feels so warm and fuzzy because it's so genuine. And, when we believe in our heart that we can help them, then not opening them up to want or to commit to the full solution is doing them a disservice. I do believe that because we're not helping them to solve the root of the problem, and it will just continue. And so thank you for sharing that. Now, before we kind of complete this part one, I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. How can they learn more about your awesome courses, your programs? Where do we go?
So the best place to go is to my Irish website, which is accessible all around the world. It's not a .com, it's a .ie. So .ie is, for any websites here in Ireland, but it's still internationally recognized. And you'll find me at hypnosisacademy.ie. Or you can do a Google search for Susan Wallace and put in the word hypnosis, and I'm sure to come up.
And you have so many wonderful videos on YouTube. And, I mentioned to you, Susan, before we started to record, that you've helped me personally. So before I got trained in hypnosis and eventually became a hypnosis trainer myself, I was invited to speak at my daughter's school. Two of my daughters at an intro to psychology class when they were just starting high school. And I used something that you taught on one of the videos as an exercise to do with the kiddos, and it was so much fun, and they all loved it. And of course, I came back to do it the following year. So I'm just deeply grateful to all the beautiful resources that you have online, and I know that they can really serve many, many people out there. So, so now we're going to go into phase 2. So for those of you who are listening, Susan, if you can maybe just give us a little bit of guidance, and then for those of you listening, you can click on part 2 and get to enjoy the experience that Susan has for us.
Fantastic. So when you are listening to this creative visualization, I'm not going to formally hypnotize you, but the thing is, when we really focus our attention on one thing to the exclusion of everything else, we do tend to go into a natural hypnotic trance. So if you are driving, if you're operating machinery, if you are busy with the children, with kids, if you are lying down thinking you're going to have a nice little snooze, please don't listen to this session. Instead, wait until you're in a place where you can fully relax and allow yourself just to go on this beautiful journey, because we are going to tap into your imagination. And in the course of doing that, it is possible that you will go into hypnosis. Now, I want you to know that everything that I will be saying is highly positive. There's nothing negative, and there's nothing for you to be wary about. What I'm going to do is to help you to connect with your clients on a really deep and meaningful level by developing what we call client empathy. And when you fully understand where your clients are right now and what the function of your business truly is, and how you, even if you are a small to medium-sized business, or if you're a solo entrepreneur like myself, how you can have a marketing message that can make a big difference. And that is as likely, if not more likely, to connect with your audience than the bigger corporations will do. And so first time you listen, I would advise you to just listen to it like it is simply a story. And second time, I think you're going to be inspired and energized to sit down with a pen and piece of paper and actually go through it systematically and scientifically. And the great thing is, you don't need to do this once. You can do this for all the different services that you offer. You can do it for all the different products that you offer. You can bring it into your sales and your marketing team as a visualization, as an experience, in order to open up that creativity. And the great thing is, you can have this kind of a positive brain dump where you take all the information that you've accumulated from all of the courses that you've done, from all of the client insights that you have, to create a really strong and coherent marketing message that's going to make it really clear to your audience that you are the perfect person to deliver what it is that they are looking for.
Thank you so much, Susan. So thank you for this part 1. And for those of you listening or watching, I invite you to go ahead and click on part 2, and we'll begin.